After a high-stakes diplomatic push across different countries, MIM's Asaduddin Owaisi was part of India's multi-party delegation to 4 important countries, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Algeria and Bahrain, has returned home. He joins us for a chat. Thank you so much, Mr. Owaisi, for speaking to NDTV. Sir, in the last many days, you have emerged as one of the strongest critiques of Pakistan. This is not something new about you. You've always had this approach. But the nations that you went to have also had historic ties to Pakistan. How hard was it to shift the diplomatic needle and get them to hear India's side with fresh ears?
No, these countries which we had been to, they had an historical relationship with India. And, we went to a museum in Kuwait where we are shown documents of India's relationship with Kuwait from 1700s. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for, I don't know, because it has Makkah and Medina for years and years. Same with Bahrain, Algeria. In fact, Pandit Nehru was the first one to stand up in United Nations and ask for self-determination of Algeria, despite Puducherry being under the control of the French. So in that way, yes, India has had historical relationship with these countries which we had been to. But the important point is that all these 4 countries are members of the FATF organization. And hopefully, I think the next year, if I'm not wrong, Algeria will become a non-permanent member of Security Council. And within these 3 countries, one is a member or will be a member. So in that way, this was a very important visit. And I must place on record my thanks to the head of our group, Jay Panda, for allowing all of us to put forward our views and points. And everyone had tried the level best to put forward India's case in front of the important leaders of these 4 countries.
Right. Mr. Owaisi, also many of these countries shape the OIC narrative when it comes to the Organization of Islamic Countries. They have stood by Pakistan in the past, both in terms of funding also. Do you believe that India's push to corner Pakistan on the FATF grey list, something that you've been talking about, is it finally gaining traction?
Well, to put Pakistan on FATF, I'm sure the government of India knows much about it better than anyone. But our responsibility was to put forward in front of all these 4 countries that terrorism survives on this ideology of which even devil would be shy of accepting it. And secondly, by illegal money. And we had put forward to them that Pakistan is getting a 2 billion loan from IMF, 40 billion they're trying from World Bank. When we went to Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we had reminded them that the kingdom had given some 2 billion and now they've extended a loan of 12 billion. So where is this money going? Our presentation in front of our interlocutors was that this money is not being monitored. It is going into these core commanders, from core commanders to these terrorist groups, which in turn are killing Indians. So we wanted their help in bringing Pakistan, as it has happened in 2018 and 19. And in fact, I had given an example how when Pakistan was earlier brought into FATF, one person, the main kingpin was Sajid Mir, who was the main planner of 26/11.
Right.
And Pakistan was continuously saying, oh, Sajid Mir is dead. When this FATF meeting was being held in Germany, immediately Pakistan came up and to the surprise of everyone, not to the Indians, but they said, oh, Sajid Mir is alive. And then he was later on convicted. And we also reminded them that from 2018 onwards, till 22, Pakistan was in FATF and there was a close monitoring on their finances and all the neighboring countries were safe. And in Algeria and in Kingdom, we said that Pakistan has become the epicenter of takfirism and they don't distinguish between any Muslim or non-Muslim. Because if you see, I think so in May 2000, Riyadh was attacked by Al-Qaeda.
Right.
8 years ago, the Houthis have launched a missile attack at Aramco. And what in Algeria they call a black decade from 1990s to mid-2000, 50,000 people were killed by Al-Qaeda, and now in South Algeria they have a problem with Daesh also.
Right.
So we have told them, look, all of us are victims of this terrorism, and the best you can do is to please, ensure Pakistan is brought in FATF. We have nothing against the Pakistani people, but it is the deep state, it is the military And these terror groups who are thriving and being aided and promoted by the Pakistani army over there, they should be controlled.
Absolutely. Mr. Owaisi, also back home when you were engaged in that diplomatic exercise, the opposition has raised very sharp allegations. One, of course, they want clarity on the Indian jets that have been downed. They're also accusing the BJP of politicizing a military operation. How do you see that kind of response?
Well, I could not have really commented sitting in Bahrain and Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, Algiers about this question. Many people were asking me. I said, look, I am representing the country. How can I talk about it over here? But yes, what this government has now called a monsoon session from 12th July onwards, and all of us would be demanding a proper discussion on what happened in Pahalgam, because it's a very, very important issue. And if the government in turn tells us it's a sensitive issue, we cannot debate it, then they can do an in-camera discussion by not allowing any media. And it will not be reported, but at least as the members of parliament, we could ask the government, some accountability has to be fixed on Pahalgam.
Right.
That is an important question which is there in front of everyone's mind. So who's responsible? Yes, we know Pakistan is responsible. Lashkar-e-Taiba, the resistance front, is responsible. But how did this lapse happen? And where is the accountability going to fix? And also about our deterrence policy. So these are questions. And moreover, the CDS has said what he said is the government position as of now, because he addressing a very, very important think tank dialogue. So what he said, all of us should accept it as a government's, what the government had told him, or government has consented to what he had said.
Right. So in principle, Mr. Owaisi, do you agree with the premise that a special session is needed? This is what the opposition is asking. 16 parties
Now,
have...
I don't think so. Government would call a special session when they've announced the dates.
Right.
So once dates are announced and the bulletin is issued by the Honorable President, so maybe the monsoon session would be the best time to ask for a threadbare discussion on Pahalgam, what happened in Pahalgam. And of course, you see, whatever the discussion, but we have to accept that this great work has been done by our defense forces. We have successfully targeted 9 proscribed organizations head office. We have successfully targeted 9 airfields. We have successfully, our air defense system worked. Yes, Pahalgam happened. We lost lives in Poonch. Civilians lost their lives. Our defense personnel lost their lives. But what is important is about Pahalgam, and I hope that the government would be magnanimous enough and come forward and have a debate. There's nothing to hide. The whole world knows about it.
Absolutely.
So might as well honorable MPs be allowed to ask some important, specific, pointed questions to our government.
Right. Mr. Owaisi, also one of my last questions, how do you see the Congress party, especially Rahul Gandhi's comments, surrendered, about surrendering, and, these allegations centered around Donald Trump's comments? Do you think that this is just a play of words, or this is just optics, or this is also valid criticism?
I don't want to name anyone, but I don't want to comment on a country's leader, whether the U.S. president. I think he speaks like he's saying some haiku poems. So the lesser said better. But yes, I have raised this point when the cessation of firing was announced. I had hoped that our country's prime minister would have announced it. I had hoped that the government would have announced it, instead of a foreign country's head. That was quite unacceptable to me. It is still unacceptable to me, because it is my country's decision to take on these terror groups, and then the subsequent retaliation was because they attacked civilian areas. And we've always said it's a bilateral issue. Third country has no role to play. So that decision should have been announced by this government.
Right.